There we go. All the applications are cleared out in the background. So let's get into it. Now, my iPhone 13 mini on the left side is on iOS 26, I think. Actually, I'm not really too sure. Maybe it's still on iOS 18. But you can see from the first couple applications I just opened up, both of them did pretty good. As always, the difference between a 60Hz screen and a 120Hz screen, there is a pretty big difference, so you're always going to have to kind of keep that in mind. But I will tell you, for both of these phones, I definitely do think there are just a couple more glitches. So as I use them more and more, you're going to see those bigger types of differences between the two. Now, is it a big, massive deal from what I'm seeing? Not really. I don't think it's a big deal, but there are some of those key differences that you're going to notice in between both. So that's always going to be one of those things to keep in mind. But I will say, from what I'm seeing so far, the main difference seems to kind of be that 60Hz panel. But those little differences when you're opening up an application and things, that's where you're going to be like, wow, that's actually, you won't notice it separately, but when you kind of put them side by side, that's when you're going to notice those bigger differences. So it is kind of interesting, although I don't think it's the biggest deal breaker of all time. That is going to be one of those things you're going to end up noticing there. Now, I will say some of these differences could be iOS 18 versus iOS 26, but I would imagine iOS 18 on the iPhone 13 mini would be faster than iOS 26 on the iPhone 13 mini. Now, if I go and open up, let's say GarageBand, so this one does not have GarageBand, so I'm not even going to try it, but I do have some of these other apps. And the thing I can tell you so far from what I'm seeing is that a phone like an iPhone 13 mini does seem to me that for a 2021 4-year-old phone, and for how small this phone is, it's actually pretty surprising how good of a job the 13 mini is still doing. And in this case, you can kind of see that this phone performed a little bit better in the Subway Surfers opening than the iPhone 17, so I don't know what that's about. Little glitches like that at the beginning when you're actually playing the game, I think the glitches kind of go away. So there's not really anything crazy once the game kind of starts, but it's that initial opening up, that's when you start noticing. Loading times are going to be much longer, speed, in-app performance is going to be much longer, things like that. But sometimes there could be some app glitches too. You can see those glitches right there. That's what you're really going to end up noticing. So those glitches are pretty much just going to go away when you kind of go and upgrade to something like an iPhone 17. So, I do think going from a 13 mini to a 17 is a big upgrade. But like I said before, if you go from a 17 to if you go from a 13 mini to an iPhone 14 Pro or 15 Pro, that's also going to be a pretty big difference. And that is going to be kind of in the middle of these two. It's not necessarily going to be 800 like you have on the iPhone 17. So I will tell you, from what I can see, the 17 is a way faster phone, but the 13 mini for the most part still performs pretty well for an older type of device, but clearly the 17 is kind of the better one when it comes down to it, although you do get some glitches on the 17 sometimes. Now, when it comes down to their cameras, this was also another really important thing to keep in mind. They're both